started. Okay. So this is, this is Unit 5. We will talk about the 2016 Museum Edition Horizon Report. The first part, I will talk about the key trends in the technology of museum. So there are 3 key trends in this report. The first one is the long term. So in this trend, it mentioned 2 things. The first thing is the cross-institution collaboration. It means all institutions need to collaborate together. And in this part, it mentioned one thing. It mentioned the social media is the tool for the institution to work together. As we all know, we always use the Facebook, Twitter to communicate with each other. So it means that each museum can use this to work with others. They can share their information, and they can show their what's the ambition in their museum. And the next one is the new road for the museum professional. So the traditional museum is kind of we just need to show the exhibition to the visitor. But now today I think the museum need to change their ways to show. They can, in this report, it mentioned that some museums are already breaking new ground, moving beyond the familiar territory of the preserving and interpreting objects in their collection to exploring their potential as social change agents. So, and the next one, in the big trends, it mentioned the 2 things. The first one is the data analytics for museum operation, and the second one is the professionalization. So, as I mentioned before, the museum need to use the social media to show their exhibitions. So it means they need more data analytics. So maybe it will create more jobs in the future for the science student. And they also need to improve their service. They need to make more professional things for the people. And the next one is the short-term trend. So in this part, it mentioned mobile content and delivery and the participatory experience. So it means I think nowadays we always use the mobile phone to search and read some information. So maybe the museum need to create the apps, the soft program for the visitor, or to let them know and let them know what exhibition is and let them feel like in their museum if they can't come. And yeah, so the next part will be the significant challenge.
So considering those trends and all the challenges that come with it, we talk about, first of all, the solvable challenges. And again, this is the 2016 Museum Horizon Report. And we're focusing on the ITSE standard for professional growth and leadership and collaboration. So for one of the solvable challenges in the report and for museums is developing effective digital strategies. And that's beginning with archiving, having apps and tools, and having even using some type of electronic or digital fundraising sources so that it can support museums that are more traditionally not as digitally advanced as some other organizations. And so they have some challenges there that are pretty basic and solvable, such as improving digital literacy of museum professionals, all the docents and the professional development that docents have to experience, so that when they do have guests and when they do have patrons, they're able to be more digitally relevant to them, provide user support, and to be able to increase their experiences in a digital form or a virtual form. We'll go on to the next to the difficult challenges. That's going to be more than anything improving accessibility for disabled populations. There's some historic buildings that have challenges as far as physicality, having, say, for example, accessibility through ramps or providing braille to their disabled patrons. This is a trend that's going to be able to support, especially those that are all throughout populations. You want to include all populations, and so you want to be able to provide, or museums want to be able to provide, a remote and virtual experiences to their patrons that maybe have not only disabled and have physical limitations, but also have resource limitations. And you want to measure the impact of new technologies, say like Yuding was talking about the apps, and making sure that we have those apps to provide new digital tools and collect information from the visitors so that they can make their experiences more relevant and provide more quality services, where it's not just an app that kind of guides you or gives you a tour, but also enriches the experience of the museum goer. One of the wicked challenges is, of course, managing knowledge and obsolescence. Museums are really challenged with staying current with policies and practices, and they experience a lot of competition for their target audiences through entertainment venues. So it's very difficult for them to kind of, make sure that they stay relevant, and for them to be a places that people really want to go. And one of the last wicked challenges is having privacy concerns, especially when archiving and using all of their exhibits and all the wonderful things that museums have to offer. They also expose themselves to digital criminology, and they really need to focus on security to making sure that whatever they archive is encrypted in a way that it stays to where it's private and where it's not shared across, right, and it's not stolen. And so those were some of the challenges. In considering the ITSE standard for professional growth and leadership, I think for organizations such as museums and schools specifically, it's difficult to kind of stay abreast, especially when you do things in the traditional way, but you always have to be, knowing what's going on, knowing what the trends are, so that you'll be able to incorporate that and always continue to grow. Organizations, it's very easy for us to be complacent and say, well, this is the way it's always been, but we always need to push forward for new learning. And our time for adoptions, Lisa?
So for near term, so 1 year or less, they have digital humanities, technologies, and maker spaces. Digital humanities technologies is just basically increasing scholarly research and opportunities through the collaboration between technology, literature, the humanities. And the maker spaces is a lot like what we see in the classroom. They're really wanting to push towards a more participatory experience, a more immersive experience for visitors to museums. So they're wanting those kind of hands-on, immersive maker spaces. And so much like in a classroom, 1 year or less is a pretty feasible amount of time to get that implemented. And then for midterm, 2 to 3 years, location intelligence and virtual reality. So again, the virtual reality pays tribute to the fact that they're trying to make it more immersive. They want it to be an experience and not just kind of walking around and looking at things. They want people to really be kind of part of the learning experience and the visitors to be at the center of that. And then location intelligence kind of goes in hand with that. They're using a lot of new technology to kind of figure out what works best for visitor experience, where exhibits should be located. And then for long term, you have 4 to 5 years. So information visualization and network objects. UT mentioned they're trying to really have a push for social media and for kind of using technology to take it beyond just being in the museum, but to little smaller experiences that they can learn via technology outside of the museum, and then that will kind of enhance their experience. And both of those kind of speak to that as well.
Okay. So that's all.